What is it? The thing you all just wrote down on pieces of paper. And the actual answer is, what's a delegate? Well, the actual question I could ask is, what is a delegate period in iOS programming? Because those patterns exist. He's like, well, isn't that part of the presidential thing? they vote, right? That's the president. Yeah, but I mean, he was probably a delegate at some point. The presidency is a superset of a delegate. All right, so what's a delegate? Responds to actions. I think that's reasonable enough. So data sources. So we want to kind of keep those two things together. A data source provides the source for the data for something that displays data. So for our experience with that has been with UI table views. UI table views show data on the screen, and we need a data source in order to show that data. And then they could also respond to actions that we do on the screen. We've only messed around with clicking, but you could reorder them and other things like that. So things that are actions, manipulation type things. A delegate, we have delegated this dude to take care of that stuff or to respond to those requests. For UI alert views, there is a single delegate, a method we can implement that we become aware when somebody clicked a button associated with a UI alert view. And then we can respond to that. Make sense? Okay, so I think for today, everybody was supposed to bring their code up to where we were at in class. How'd that go? Doable-ish? I think you made the comment to me yesterday that as you start doing this stuff, you're realizing that creating these apps is pretty much the same thing over and over and over again. Every single page you go to, it's the same pattern, right? Is that from you? All right, so we click on manage, we click on manage roles, we hit plus. I think we already have it checking. If we try to hit save and we didn't put a role in there, it gives us an error. Otherwise, we can type in our role, hit save, it goes away and adds it to our view here. So, right now, when we hit save, let's go back into our code here. So now we kind of have it working as putting it into our data view. We probably want to start thinking about it, or in our table view rather. We probably want to start thinking about it a little bit more formally, a little bit more object-orientedly. So if I go to manage roles vc.m, and we look at the code for the save button, here's our new role save button. So this is the part, this if statement says, if you didn't type in anything, we're going to scream at you. The else is the part that says, okay, you typed something, let's go ahead and let's do some saving. Okay, but right now we're doing like ghetto saving. So what does that mean? We're taking this mutable array called the roles, and we're just adding a string to it. That is the string is our representation of our role, where a role is a name and a description, correct? So what we want to do to make this more object-oriented, more object-oriented-ish, which buckle. We want to go ahead and create an object for holding roles. Now, this slide right here should be, well, maybe this one doesn't scream, but it certainly should be persuasive towards we should probably have an object named role that holds two pieces of information, that we can do things with roles. Okay, because as we see this project evolve, especially when we start going about saving roles, we're probably going to want to encapsulate, hide the data of communicating with the cloud, which is coming up probably Friday. Hide the data of communicating with the cloud inside of an object so we can just tell a role to save yourself. And behind the scenes, all the scary crap happens. Okay, that makes sense? So everybody down. That's a pretty decent Schwarzenegger, isn't it? Like, huh? Wasn't bad. Yeah, that's what I Okay, so let's go ahead and let's create that object. Now, right click here, we're going to go new file, Objective-C class. This guy is going to be a subclass of NSObject, not a view control. This isn't something we're going to see. This is something that we're going to just use for data. This is a data structure. All right, and we'll name this guy role. I just thought of an interesting variable name for Puppet PM. Since it's a Puppet PM, we could call it a PP role. We'll just call it a role. I don't know why not. I could just see every single time we created an instance of PP role. The whole class loses it for 15 seconds. Every 15 seconds. All right, so we're going to have our role.h here. And we're going to make this guy basically mimic what this slide says. We have a name and we have a description. So we're going to say we have an NS string pointer name. We had NS string pointer description. Okay, those are the two pieces of information that our role knows how to hold. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a constructor. So we're going to call this guy init with name. And description. All right, and then we'll go and implement this guy. Hold on. There we go. Now it's more happiest-ish. Init with name, colon, NS string pointer n, and description, colon, NS string. Yeah, I think we're good. All right, now we'll go and implement this over in the .m file. This is an interesting thing here. Can I do... Well, that sucks. Eclipse seems to be better than that. Eclipse, when they yell at you about something, they give you like suggested fixes. You just click a link and it fixes it for you. All right, so I'll paste that in there. We'll actually go and implement this. So, like, what's this? No, it's not. Aha! All right, so every single constructor we write starts off with the same lines. Well, starts off with the same line and ends with the same line. And then we'll do some extra crap in the center. We're going to say name is equal to n, and we're going to say description is equal to d. So that's how we'll initialize our role. Okay, so I'm going to leave a role like that for now. We'll go back to our magic roles VC, or magic manage roles VC. And now when we read stuff in from our, after we hit the save button, we want to read it into a roles object. So we need to go ahead and import role.h. So we have access to that code. And then instead of adding to our roles NS mutable array, instead of adding strings to that, we're going to go ahead and add role alloc init with NS string, init with name rather, and the, what's it called? The role role name TF, role name TF.text, and description, role description text view dot text. So we'll initialize it with those two pieces of information. So we're going to add to our NS mutable array called roles a new object. What object? An instance of a role. That make sense? So that's a single variable that holds two pieces of information. So that might be a very simplistic definition of a data structure. Okay? Then we're going to tell our table view to reload its data. Now the problem we have right now is where we're creating our cell here in cell for row at index path. We're just getting NS strings from the roles. We don't want that anymore. Now we need a role. So instead of getting an NS string out of the roles, we're going to get an actual role pointer. Let's call this guy the role. And then we want to set our cell's text label equal to the role's name. But right now, I don't have any way of getting the role's name. So I need to go ahead and create myself a getter, a method for retrieving the name. So I'll go into role.h. We'll implement another method. This is going to be a method that returns an NS string pointer. We'll call this guy getName. And let's write a second one of these for getDescription, just so we have it. And then we're going to go implement both of these guys. In the .m file. So getName is going to return name. GetDescription is going to return description. All right, so now we taught our role object how to give us that information. So we can go back to manage roles vc.m, and we can set our text label equal to the role getName to retrieve our name from that object. That make sense? Okay. So now we'll run our program again and see that we just did a more complicated version of exactly what we were doing before. Manage roles, role 1, blah, role 2, blah on that one too. All right, but now we're holding two pieces of information. So why don't we go ahead and show that second piece of information here in this table view. So we are dealing with the default version of a table view cell. Have we messed with this before? We haven't changed that? Okay. So right now, remember, we try to dequeue a reusable table view cell. Remember, that's the performance thing. If it doesn't exist, we're going to create that cell for the first time. So when we create that cell for the first time, so this only happens if the cell doesn't already exist, if we weren't already able to extract it. When we create that cell for the first time, we're going to call the UI table view cell alloc, and then we're going to init with style, blah, blah, blah. And the style we're initializing this guy with is something called UI table view cell style default. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to backspace there. and just finish off the word style, and you see we have a couple of other things in here. And one of them is called style subtitle. So I'm going to change it to style subtitle. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and run this again. I love how it wants to capitalize that. We'll have to modify that here in a second. Use appropriate grammar, please. It's the beginning of a sentence. Okay, so as you can see, our table view cells are completely the same. So what do we do that? Do we do it for our health? No. Inside our cell, we not only have a text label, we also have something called a detail text label. And we're going to set this guy equal to the role get description. All right, then while I'm in here real quick, just so it stops messing with me, I'm going to click on our text view, go down to our shield here, turn capitalization off, we'll leave correction alone, default keyboard, default appearance, that's fine. We don't need it capitalizing gibberish. Here's the test. There you go. So now you see roll 1, and it's given us the description underneath it. it's a dev null. It's a geek joke. All right, so now you see we have our detail label, right? So we could have more piece of information in there. Just so you know, I was going to say something worse, and that would have been Simon. So. That's my plague. Mod 6 is the name of my plague. I know. I was playing it at Bible study the other day at church. No, I was playing it at church the other day. Killing off the whole human population in church. Last place they'd look. He was there. Weren't you at church on Sunday?
I was.
See? You didn't even know that was happening around you, did you?
No. Unaware of it.
I used to bring in my iPad mini, then my wife started yelling at me. I sit there on my phone the whole time, don't I? Man, it's those kids. It's the only thing that's keeping me from going back there and escorting them to the cry room.
Grab by ankle and pull.
Use the first one you get as a weapon.
Yeah.
That's what the Hulk would do. Okay. So, next thing we want to do is we probably want to go ahead and have it not keep this guy filled in. We probably want to empty it out each time we hit the plus button. So we'll go back into our code. Well, here, let me ask, how would I do that, Simon? Right now our code works this way. So I'm in here on this screen, I hit the plus button, and the crap I entered in last time is still in here. I want it to be a fresh, clean slate for me when I come in here. Where would I do that?
Could you do it in the save button so it like dumps everything out, like saves what you've done and then resets it? So next time you hit the plus button,
Okay. I'm going to do that, and then you tell me what's wrong with it.
Okay.
So while I'm typing in the code, you tell me why that's not a complete solution.
Okay.
All right, so you want to do it in the Save button. So we'll go to Manage Roles VC. Are you cheating on coleslaw? That's what I'm hearing that.
No, he hasn't said anything yet. I'm bouncing ideas.
I'm bouncing ideas. Okay, so you want to do it in the Save button. So you want to say, what's it called? Role. Role name text field dot text is equal to the empty string, and role description tv dot text is equal to the empty string. You want to do that, right? So when we're saving it, go ahead and empty it out.
Will it save the current one?
Yeah, I do it at the end. So here's the saving. The saving happens up here, and then at the very end, before I go back, actually, it's even after I go back, after I hit what was the equivalent to the cancel button, I go back. I'll empty it out. So let's go ahead and test Simon's solution. Row 1, blah blah. Works so far. Hit this again. Oh, seemed to work, Simon. You feel pretty good about yourself?
There's a hint of doubt.
You ready? I'll do what I just did in slow motion. Hit again. So it's always entertaining, isn't it? Okay, so by making it part of the Save button, it requires me to hit the Save button in order to empty it out, right? Where I'm actually doing it is part of the, well, if I hit cancel, it's well, if I hit cancel, it's still, the stuff is still there. Now, an interesting thing, it wasn't even the solution I was originally thinking, is notice in our Save button, we are writing our Save button in terms of our cancel button. Because our cancel button knows how to dismiss that extra view, knows how to make it fade away. So I could actually just throw this stuff inside of my cancel button. Because the cancel button gets called when I hit cancel. It also gets called when I hit save. Because my save button says, do what the cancel button says to do at the very end. That makes sense? Because all the cancel button says is, make the keyboard go away, then make the entire view go away. Because if we don't make the keyboard go away, the view will fade out. You'll still have this keyboard stuck on the screen. And then people will think that like, paid 99 cents for this app. I expected ads, but not.
Not just a keyboard.
Oh, yeah. I like putting.
You don't complete your interface.
That would actually be a funny trick to play in a game. You can get it past Apple testers pretty easily, I would think, by having it maybe the first 50 times the app opens or something like that, have it on a counter. You know, they're going to really open it 50 times while they're testing it. But then all of a sudden have it be, like it's like a random number generator where some random number of seconds the keyboard just slides up on the screen. Or you make like a kids app that, has like sounds and stuff like that. And, so the kids are hitting like the different, I'd made this whole group of apps for kind of geared towards kids way back when the App Store first came out, and there was the one where you popped balloons. When you popped the balloons, it made a sound. Well, I would just randomly every now and again throw like just a completely inappropriate sound and like a fart or something like that. It's like, ooh, mom.
Find the Easter egg we have.
I know. How many of you have the speedtest.net app? Do you know the Easter egg in that one? I assume it's still on the new one. Let me test it real quick.
I think I know what you're talking about. I don't remember what that.
It was definitely in the old one.
Hoopla.
We'll go ahead and test Concordia's network speed while we're at it. Ooh, 6 millisecond ping. That's pretty decent.
Cool.
1.66 megabit down, 10 megabit up. It doesn't look like I can. Oh, yeah, it's still there.
Okay.
So if you're on the screen, swipe down on that guy. Is it crashing on me?
It has 2 modes.
Yeah, swipe down on it, and an evil cat will pop up on the screen.
When it changes.
Yeah, he can't be contained. Warning. Swipe down again. He can't be groomed. Try and you will bleed.
After 15 years.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. I wondered if because they have a whole new interface now. I wonder if they took that out. Okay, so now we should have a more completist solution, Simon. All right, here's the test. We'll hit cancel, come back in, and it's still empty. All right, so, well now, we just spent some time adding in roles, yet we're going to come here and we're going to run our app again, relaunch it. And we're going to, well, I didn't even need to come in there. We're going to see that all the roles that we spent hours and hours and hours entering in are now gone. We don't want Puppet PM to be a one and done app, right? We want the things to persist between connections. So we're going to have to save our information somewhere. Where would we save our information? As far as we know right now, what's our only option for saving information? I'm just dying, don't worry about it. NS user defaults is the only place that we can save information. Now, NS user defaults is only a local database, right? And we also saw a couple classes ago that NS user defaults is not able to store generic. It's not able to store generic objects. That makes sense? Question is, can it store generic objects inside of a mutable array? I don't know if we tested that. No? Let's try it. So we already know that NS user defaults could store an NS mutable array of strings. I think we had strings in there, right? But strings are storable as part of it. You can store an NS string as an object inside of NS user defaults. But can you store an NS mutable array of objects that are not in and of themselves storable? That's the question. How are we doing on time? Oh, okay. Well, we'll go ahead and do it real quick, but we'll see it won't work. But we're going to have to create our user defaults anyways. So let's just see what we really want to do and how it doesn't work, and then we can see how we can fix it. So I'm going to go into our constructor for manage roles. And our constructor for manage roles, right now, it's creating a brand new roles, right? Brand new mutable array, which might be what we want to do the first time the app opens. But realistically, we'd like to retrieve the old roles if it exists. So we're going to say NS user defaults pointer the defaults is equal to ns user defaults. What's the code for it? Actually, I don't think I'm creating an instance. Let me just look it up real quick. So you guys aren't being helpful at all.
Standard user defaults.
That's a class method.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay. So we have our class method, standard user defaults. We call it with the NS user defaults name of the class. Stored inside the defaults, we'll say the roles is equal to the defaults array for key, and let's call this guy the roles. Then we'll ask the question if the roles is equal to nil. That is, if we were not able to retrieve the roles, then let's build a fresh NS mutable array. And then let's go ahead and store it. Is there a set array? No, it's just set object. So we'll store the roles for key, the roles, and then we'll say the defaults synchronize. All right. Now, since I'm probably going to use my defaults throughout this object, rather than defining it as a local variable inside here, let's go ahead and let's make it a global variable to the object and just give it its value in the constructor. Similar to what we did to the roles here. I'll go ahead and fix this. This guy comes out of here as an NS mutable array, or an NS array. I need it as an NS mutable array. So I'll cast it. And then let's go to the .h and give ourselves the defaults variable for us to give a value to. Okay, so we'll see the very first time if we come in here. We won't do anything else with this. We'll just see our code still works. We're not actually ever saving anything extra. Actually, hold on. Let me just do this real quick. The roles was not found. So we know when we didn't find it the first time, we create it and add it to the defaults. So every additional time that we run this program, we should not see the roles was not found. Because it did find it, it just won't have anything in it because we never actually add role objects to it and then resave it. We just save it this one time. All right, so the very first time here, as we click manage, and then I click manage roles, we should see the roles was not found down there. Underlined. All right, and then I'll go ahead and just run this again real quick. So you'll see that it won't say that. Okay, doesn't see it. So it did in fact save it. But we'll also see if we go and add some stuff in here, roll one, blah, blah. Everything's in there. We'll go ahead and run the program again. and we will see that that guy's not in there because we didn't actually resave it. Make sense? So now the question is go ahead.
You have it saving if there's nothing in the roll already. So after you opened it a second time, then it found it, but you're not saving it again, are you?
Well, no, correct. I'm saving the original. I'm not saving as I add rolls to it. So you're right. I mean, I try to extract it from my defaults right here. If I couldn't extract it, it means it didn't exist. Then I spit out, I couldn't find it. Then I create it. Then I add it to my defaults. Right here. But that's all I ever do with it. Next time through, I'll read it in from the defaults, and I'll read in an empty but existent NS mutable array. So I won't go inside this if statement. What we really want to happen is we want to save it when we are, after we add a roll. So in here, when we added a new roll to the rolls, we need to save the rolls. The question is can we save the rolls by just synchronizing? Or do we have to overwrite what was already there? Well, let's test it with a second variable. The reason I want to test it with a second variable is because our NS mutable array is not going to work. So, so I'm going to, when we first create our, let me actually make this guy global. I'm just going to create an NS string pointer called S. That's fine. And then what I'm going to do in here is I'm going to start S off. Each time we come to this thing, I'm going to start S off at, well, we're going to have to erase it anyways. I'll say S is equal to nothing. Well, that's not really what I want to do. I want to do this. The defaults, I want the NS string version of whatever the defaults. Is there a string for key? Yep, there we go. String for key, we'll just call this guy S. So I don't even need to cast him to NS string. He already is an NS string. All right, now, so that's what S will be. Be whatever the defaults returns for that. Now, the idea is initially it's going to be nil just like the rolls is. So what I'll do is inside here, I'll also go ahead and set, I'll say S is equal to created. And then we'll say the defaults set object S for key S. So I'll go ahead and save that string to our NS user defaults. Okay? Now, here, just so I don't forget, I'm going to come up here to the hardware. I'm going to go to the simulator. I'm going to reset content and settings. That way our NS user defaults are gone. So our test will work the first time here. All right, then lastly, we want to come in here to our save button. And we're going to say S is equal to saved. And then we're going to say the defaults synchronize. So we're going to try to save it that way. And up here, I'm going to try to do an ns log S. I know we're pretty much out of time. Let me just, we're right at the end here. Okay. So we're going to run this first time through. When I click manage roles, it's not going to find either of those. Roles was not found. So notice it says S is null. S didn't exist. We tried to pull it out of the defaults, wasn't there. Then, so now we created it. So S just had the word created in there. That's what S is. S is created. Then we add it. All right, now we're going to go and save something. Okay, all fine and dandy. When we save something there, we change the value of S. We change the local global variable of S to saved. And then we just told the defaults to synchronize itself. So we want to know, did that update the defaults with our new value of S? Or did we actually have to resave S? And we'll be able to test this real quick by just rerunning the application and seeing what S is the very first time we come in here. So synchronize does not do it. We have to resave. Make sense? All right, so we'll start here next time, and then I'm going to actually pre-write some code for us for our server, and I'll kind of walk through and explain so we don't spend a lot of time writing database stuff. But okay, I'll see everybody on Friday.